overplayed Metallica song in their entire catalog.
Let's do this.
All right, we are live, guys. We are live.
Are we?
We are live, guys.
Why are you messing with me, dude?
I'm messing with you. Hello, everybody. We are here live with the No Name Podcast, episode 16 with Ben Leonard from Ecom Brokers. What's going on, Ben?
Hey, it's all good. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Welcome to our No Name Podcast. It's a name that David came up with, and it's great. And it's just, I sometimes I hate it, sometimes I love it, right? So it's just unique and No Name Podcast.
But Frank, we should be rebranding soon, right? We have a new name, and we're working on reinventing. Isaac, how you doing, Isaac?
We see you. What's up, man? How are you? So you're in the UK, Ben. Talk to us about the UK. How's the UK treating you?
The UK is not too bad. We're getting there in terms of all the COVID-y stuff, so we can do more things now. Yeah. The restrictions here were significantly stricter than in the US. So we can do more stuff. We can leave the country now. That's exciting. Yeah. I'm actually trying to leave the country. I'm hoping to actually go on holiday in a few weeks, which is exciting. So yeah, we're good. We're getting there. Business is good. Bit of positivity in the country. Summer's coming. Lots of exciting things happening in the e-commerce world now.
Yeah, for sure.
Prime Day is on the way. So yeah, everybody's kind of, we feel like, I think nationally there's a lot more positivity than there was just a few months ago.
Yes. So Ben, let's I want to jump in a little bit about I guess first of all, let's mention that you are expecting a baby soon, right? Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yes. Well, my wife is. If I was, that would be amazing. I'd be like,
oh, yeah, you and your wife.
Are in twins. No, not twins. Junior. That's the one. Yeah, we're having a baby. End of July. So that'll be baby number 2. Yeah.
Okay. So, congratulations.
Crazy. Thank you very much. Yeah. I keep asking all my dad friends, is it easier going from 1 to 2 than it was going from 0 to 1 in terms of like numbers of kids? And they're all like, no. All downhill from here.
I think it might be harder, but I'm not gonna get you too excited. But we have Frank. Me and Frank both have 2. We both have a boy and a girl, actually. So
cool.
Yeah. Did you guys find out? Did you guys find out about the gender, or are you keeping it a surprise?
We're having a surprise. We had a surprise for our little girl, Isabel, and we're having a surprise for this one. All that matters is it's healthy. But
I don't know how people do that, man.
If I can find out, I'm finding out.
I need to find out the same day I know she's pregnant.
I think that there's certain it says a lot about your character when you could just be like, all right, you know what, bring it on, life, bring it on, and just go with the punches,
you don't get a lot of surprises now in like modern life, and so this is like probably like the biggest surprise you're ever gonna have. So I think it's kind of nice.
For sure. So Ben, talk to us about what you do, man. Let our audience learn more about you.
Yes.
Sure.
I know David has some interesting questions that I'm eager to learn about as well. So introduce
we want to learn. Usually we talk about how to increase sales on Amazon and just how to grow your business, and I think that today more than ever a lot of people can relate with the goal of trying to be successful and then maybe having a wonderful exit. I think that's like slowly becoming. People want to make a business, build it up for 3-4 years, sell it, and then start all over again and do that again. So I think that's like a growing I guess strategy. And I think that there's so much value and amazing insight that you can provide for us. But before we jump into that, like Frank was saying, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and your origin story. We always say,
sure.
For those watchers who don't know who Ben Leonard is, what do you do? What are you about? Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so my journey into e-commerce was not straightforward. I had no background in business, and I got started when I was 27 in early 2016. A big life event happened that caused me to change the trajectory of my life. So my background is I was a fully qualified whale and dolphin nerd. I'm still a whale and dolphin nerd, but no longer professionally. my job was to help oil companies stay within the environmental regulations. I used to tell engineers what they could and couldn't throw in the sea.
Wow.
And then, and it was nice. I liked my job. And I still have an interest to get back into environmental stuff later after I've let my entrepreneurial spark burn a bit more. But I get a different story, I guess. I got very ill with a heart problem, age 27. I'm fine now, but it was the third time that I had it. And the doctors basically said, right, we really need to nip this in the bud this time because this could become chronic and life-changing. So they gave me this cocktail of mega strong drugs and said, stop doing all your fitness hobbies. I was mega into boxing, CrossFit, running, lifting heavy weights, generally being a bit of a maniac. And I had to take like 9 months out, and I needed something to do. And ideally, I wanted that thing to be related to my hobbies. And so I had the idea to create a brand of fitness equipment because I felt like the equipment I had was too expensive, not good enough, and didn't have great service. And at this point, I was one of those people who believed wrongly that when you bought something on Amazon, you're buying it from Amazon. I didn't know that third-party selling was a thing. I didn't know the first thing about e-commerce or building my own website or marketing. But I did have the advantage of having a scientific background. So I began this journey of partly learning by doing, but mostly learning by experimenting. So in science, we have a hypothesis, we test it, we get the results, we analyze the results, we see what happens, we change something, we go again. And I applied this to my learning of building this brand, which was called Beast Gear. I'm allowed to say that it's public domain. And I grew that brand over 3.5 years to mid 7 figures. We were selling across 3 continents. And then I sold it. And I sold that business to Thrasio. And it was Thrasio's second European acquisition, I believe. And this was late 2019. So a whole lot has changed since 2019 in this space. And I can say that they use me in their PR all the time, and they're great guys. And
I saw your video. So it was a good video.
Yeah. We get on great. And that experience led me to discover that obviously I have now got the skill set to build brands with an intention to sell. So I'm still building my own brands. And B, I went through a broker, and the experience of doing that led me to the position where myself and my accountant, who had a huge role in the sale, felt like we could bring something a little bit more special to that brokerage space. And so we started e-com brokers. So now I'm advising e-commerce business owners on how to scale their business. I'm helping people exit their business, and I'm building my own businesses to sell. And that's me.
Wow, nice. I could just imagine, like David says, a lot of people want to exit, right? That's like a way for them to measure success to a certain extent. When you went through that process, man, like, did you have doubts before selling? Like, hey, maybe I can grow this to be bigger. Like, what was your mindset when you made that decision?
Yeah, it's a tough one for anyone who thinks they might want to sell. Although if you think you might want to sell, I think that's a good indicator that it's probably the right thing for you. Sure. What happened with me was it was early 2019. My wife was pregnant. We wanted to move house. The business was growing like crazy, and I was running around like a headless chicken, putting out fires. You're on the phone to seller support at 3 a.m. crying down the phone. You know what it's like. It was not sustainable. And with so much of the business, so much revenue coming through Amazon relative to my own website, I felt like there was too much risk tied up relative to the amount of money that I could take off the table.
Yeah.
And although I could have grown the business more, I felt like I actually got some advice before I took the decision to look at selling. And one piece of advice I got was from my dad, and he said, sell your business at the point of peak romance. And what that means is it's the point at which your business is growing. It's on an upward trajectory, but you haven't maxed out your growth yet. You feel like this could really be something. And if you sell at that point, it's a really good place to sell because You haven't maxed out your growth yet, so there's still meat on the bone for anyone who might want to buy your business to experience and grow themselves. And if you sell your business and then it takes off with the new owners, great. You're probably going to realize some of that upside as well if you structure your deal properly. If you sell your business and it doesn't go where you thought it would go, and it goes wrong, well, then you definitely got out at the right time. And for us, my family and I, it was just the right time for us to take that money off the table and put that into new projects and make ourselves financially secure. And I loved my brand, and I still love my brand, and I'm still involved in it now. I still develop products for it as part of a side deal that I negotiated. And just because you sell your brand doesn't mean that people talk about giving away their baby. Yeah, you are giving away something that you created, but when you do it properly and put it in the hands of the right buyer, and that's really important, you're not giving something away. You're passing on the baton to the next people in the journey of your brand. And that was just the right thing for me at that time.
Wow. Yeah, of course. And it's like you said, right? Like if you, the first sign is that you even consider selling, right? I know so many people are so sold on their brand that it's their baby, and like that ain't going anywhere, right? And I think one of the biggest things in being a business person is understanding when it's time to let go of something and move on to the next, right? And
Yeah.
so much people are stuck on something just because they just don't want to let go. So I applaud you for that, man. And I think it's an amazing business. I think that right now more than ever, if you did something once, you can do it again, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing you create more brands and getting them sold, man. I admire that and I look up to that.
Thanks,
So
Frank.
I have another point on that as well, because I feel like, me personally, a goal that I have is you want to scale your business to a point where you could sell it. And so many people are going to look at, is my business successful, and answer that by, well, will somebody buy it from me? And I think that the fact that you didn't just go and say, all right, I'm done, I'm ready to retire at the young age that you are. You said, all right, now I'm ready to start something, and you started a bunch of different things that are complementary to your experience, and you even have the goal of finishing all that, taking your stab at this entrepreneurial world, and then going back to what you're passionate about, which I think speaks a lot about you. And I think that if you even bring an ounce of that to the table with your services, I think that's something powerful. That's something amazing. So
Thanks,
I
David.
love that, and I think it says a lot about who you are and what you can do, and the fact that, like, even after you're successful by many means, by many different people will tell you, wow, you really accomplished a lot, you still want to go back to what you're passionate about, which really, really is amazing. So I commend you for that, and that's awesome. More of us should be as passionate and as committed to building something as you are. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I don't think it's a bad thing that you sold. I think it's a good thing.
That's very kind of you to say so. Yeah, I think that, like, you've both made a couple of interesting points there. Like, Frank, you were saying that some people will say to you, oh, I don't ever want to sell. To which, right, I would say to them, well, do you still want to be doing this in 30 years? And they'll say no. And you say, how about 20 years? And they'll say no. You say, so can you still see yourself doing this in 15 years? And they're like, maybe. What about 10 years? I'll still be doing it in maybe, I'm not sure. And it's like, okay, so you're not sure. You're definitely not going to be doing it in the distant future. You might be doing it in the medium future, but you're not sure. You need to give yourself the option. You need to have a plan, or at least put in the foundations of a plan. And the best way to do that is to at least have a reference point as to where you are, so that you're not like trekking through the wilderness without a map. And so what I mean by that reference point is find out what your business is worth now. Find out where your business is. And then you can say, okay, my business is worth $500,000 or $1 million or whatever. Fine, I don't want to sell it for that. It's worth $1 million, but I'm not willing to let it go for less than $3 million. Fine. Work towards that now. Reverse engineer that. Start putting together the dominoes, stacking them up so that you can knock them down to get to that point. But if you just kind of are, blindly carrying on as you are, you don't have the option to one day pull the trigger and say, right, my business is in great shape. It's sellable. I've thought about this in depth. Now I'm going to take it to market. And people wake up and say, I want to sell my business. You can't just wake up and sell your business. You have to wake up and say, now I'm going to plan to sell my business. And the sooner you do that, the better.
At what point in your journey? I read somewhere 3 years in, right? Is that accurate?
I was like 3 years in when I decided that I should explore selling, and then the deal was done after about 3.5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so now you said three years in, you said, let me look into this option, and it took you 6 months. It took you 6 months to basically get to that, get to that end goal.
Yeah, it basically, yes. So I took the decision. It was February 2019. I remember it well. February 2019, I was at a trade show in Germany with a friend, and we sat down and spoke about how much of my business, and his business as well, actually, was tied up in one sales channel and the stage of life we were at. And, we'd heard noises that the buying and selling e-commerce businesses was becoming a little bit more mainstream. Because, until very recently, if it didn't have, windows, doors, and a roof and a wall, nobody was going to buy it. But now e-commerce businesses are really sellable assets. And at that time, nobody knew who any of the buyers were directly. Nobody had heard of Thrasio. Thrasio was formed in September 2018. They were only a few months old. So I went to a broker, and I went to one of the main generic brokers. And then at that point, I was hoping that I could be out of it in a few months because our baby was due in April. But it took a lot longer than I wanted, and the deal was done in the end of October. And part of the reason that took a lot longer was some stuff happened with that broker along the way that shall we say, inspired me to create ecom brokers. And the happy side effect of that was that the longer that went on, the better my business was growing, and so the valuation kept on going up and up and up. And yeah, that 6 month or so journey was intense, but it's what needed to happen.
Wow. Powerful stuff. What do you got?
So I want to ask you more about, I guess you were three years in, you decided you wanted to go about selling it. It took you a nice amount of time to figure that out, as I had imagined it would. And I think it's amazing that you were one of the early acquisitions. That's like, I think that as Thrasio became bigger and as the aggregators grew, they got a little more wide as to who they were looking at, and I think there was more of a vetting process. So like, it really had to be a great business if it was in the early days. So I think that's like a very cool thing, like that you were one of the early ones. But I want to know more about like the journey to get to the 3-year mark where you said, hey, I'm ready to sell this. Yeah. Were you successful year one? Would you say you had a lot of success? Would you say that year two? Because everyone that sells on Amazon knows what I mean when I say, you could just explode. When things are going good, things are going good. Was that in year one? Was that in year two? Was that in year three? I'm curious because year two. Okay.
Although it's funny. I remember very vividly something that happened right at the start. So for those of us who've been in this a little bit longer, and even I'm not that much of a veteran. 2016, it sounds like the dim and distant past in e-commerce now because it's such a fast-moving industry. But there are people who were in third
every day is a year, Ben. I heard somebody say that recently. Yeah. Every day in e-commerce is a year. That's how much can happen in one day. A year's worth of.
Cast your mind back. It's 2016. ReviewGate hasn't happened. You're still allowed those reviews with the little message at the bottom that says, this is my honest feedback in exchange for, a discount or whatever. And so it was completely legit at this point to just get friends and family to buy and leave reviews and stuff. And every day I'd open the Seller Central app on my phone. I'd say to my wife, oh man, I sold 5 jump ropes today. And she's like, and how many of those were your friends? I'm like, 5. And the next day, I'm like, I sold 7 jump ropes today. And how many of those were your friends? 7. And then like a couple weeks later, I sold 15 jump ropes today. Yeah, Ben. And how many of your friends? None of them. Complete strangers. And I remember the first day that no one I knew. It was all strangers buying my stuff on the internet. And that was when I knew I'm onto something. But it was year 2 that I really got the traction. I think that was because by this point I had launched a suite of products related to each other to solve related problems for the same group of people. And I was building a brand. I wasn't just selling stuff on the internet. I was building a brand. And I was starting to add more marketplaces. So I was going right across Europe. And then I think year 3, I got into Australia and the Middle East. So it was a process of create more related products to solve related problems for the same group of people. So that's, add more products, get in front of more people in more marketplaces, rinse and repeat. It worked.
So Ben, let's touch on branding for a second, which is Frank's area. So I think I was just like talking to somebody about it today. I think you have branding for Amazon, and I think you have branding outside of Amazon. And ironically, I think that they're different. I think that branding outside of Amazon, obviously you can use that. If you create a brand, you can use that brand and translate it into Amazon. But I think that what the difference is that you need assets, specific assets for Amazon itself. And just making branding, just regular branding is, in my opinion, not enough, but it's a crucial step one to get to a step 2, because what am I saying? I'm saying, like, you need to make branding, you need to come up with a slogan, with a color palette, with Frank could do a better job at explaining what's included in branding. But then after that,
you're doing great.
You need to build a storefront. You need to do, enhanced brand content. You need to do optimized images to help sell the product, not just lifestyle images, but lifestyle images integrated with infographics or words, specific strategic words to help explain why the customer wants to buy that. So I think that it's important to differentiate the two. And I know that you definitely did more of the branding, just branding. And I'm curious if you did unique branding specific to Amazon, or if that was able to carry through. That's a question that I ask all the time. Anybody that I ever see that had success, I want to know whether you took the time and said, hey, what I have for my website, that's one thing. I need something extra and something different for Amazon. Or if you were lucky enough to say, let me figure out a way to just reuse this or recycle this, or figure out a way to kind of double down on the content that you created and spill it over into Amazon.
Yeah, so you raise a really important point. And so I did treat branding on Amazon differently, but crucially, I recognized the importance of linking the off Amazon and on Amazon ecosystems, if you want to call them that.
Sure.
And understanding how I could play the two off each other to drive further success where the big boys couldn't. And this is why even now Amazon is dominated by people running businesses on laptops in their spare bedrooms, because I like to call it micro agility. So let me, and micro agility is like, it's the ability of a small business to act like a speedboat and turn around very, very quickly, and react very quickly. Whereas the big guys are huge cruise ships, and cruise ships are great. They'll take you to wonderful places, but they take half a day to turn around. And so let me give you an example. It's all very well having fantastic, it's very important to have fantastic images and enhanced brand content and very well optimized listings and being in control of your PPC and all that good stuff. And having a handle on that is great. And you can't just repurpose what's on your Shopify site and slap it on Amazon. You need to make sure that it's optimized for Amazon. It's also really important to think outside the box and how can I use my off Amazon brand assets to drive back to Amazon? So, and how can I link the two together where the other guys aren't? And very quickly, I was finding ways to get my customers posting about me on Instagram and then engaging them. We're going to be getting into Gary Vaynerchuk levels of effort here, engaging each and every person who posted on Instagram in a conversation where I show interest and empathy for their life and who they are as a person, and have a real conversation, making it about them and not about me, and then congratulating them on their success in the gym with my product, and saying, oh, by the way, where did you get that? Oh, I got it on Amazon. Oh, cool. Well, hope you liked it. Oh, by the way, here's 10% off on our website. Just use this code, and I'm driving them back to my website where I have control of them. I can remarket to them, Now they feel a sense of reciprocity towards me because this brand has just out of the blue shown interest in their life, offered them a deal, had a real conversation with them. I let that marinate for a few minutes, and then I hit them with the, oh, by the way, you wouldn't mind just heading over to your Amazon account and leaving a quick review, would you? And these are the strategies which made my brand outcompete everybody else's brand and dozens more strategies like them, which are micro agile. The big guys are not thinking about this, and they don't have the resources to do it.
No, that level of touching each customer and that level of intimacy that you're going to accomplish with each, everybody thinking and feeling that you care about them and that you're congratulating them and offering them more promotions and the key thing there, driving them towards your website. And I want to point out again that, not to flatter you too much, but I want to point out that you didn't know anything about this industry, and you just learned this as you went along with it, which is great.
It just makes sense.
When you say it out loud, it makes sense. But you'd be surprised how many things that make sense that people don't figure out on their own.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that you figured that out. And I think that makes so much. Like when you say that's what made the difference, I believe that, and it fits. So I love that.
Thanks. And I think that what's important there is it touches on something important, which is that brand is. Like your brand, as in like, your logo, your font, your color scheme, blah, blah, blah. That's great. That's important. Brand is also about how you make people feel. And when your brand shows that personal touch, and there'll be people listening or watching this saying, yeah, but Ben, you can't do that at scale. Well, you can, because you get an army of freelancers who will help you do it at scale. And you can build automations to do it at scale. And the big boys haven't thought of it yet, or they're starting to think about this kind of stuff, but they're not quite there yet. They're getting really good at things like chatbots and whatnot. But those kind of strategies, that and a million other things I used to do and still do, they're not doing. And it's when you make people feel like your brand is an authority on the topic and cares about them, and then you link that into both your on and off Amazon channels, then both are going to blow up. And you then have assets worth selling. So it's not just all about, well, what's your trailing 12-month sales discretionary earnings? It's also about the other stuff. What's your Instagram follow? I mean, these matter less, but they matter, right? Because these are the assets you can then use to launch more products. So what's your Instagram following? What's your TikTok following? What's your email list? Emails. People may have heard me talk about email marketing. I love it. Email. All of these things contribute.
I want to come back to the emails because today's topic was selling your Amazon FBA business. I think we got some great insight into that, but I want to kind of focus now on where you went after that, because I think that everything we talked about today was very interesting, but I think where you went with it after is even more interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about e-com brokers. I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing now post Amazon exit, and kind of where you pivoted into. So I think that's like I said, very interesting and very cool. I don't think there's a lot of people offering what you're doing, or at least I haven't heard of many people offering what you're doing. Maybe there's like bigger agencies, but I don't think there's like more, like you have more of a mentorship, you have and then you're also doing brokerage as well. And I know that you have a lot to do with email marketing as well. Like there's a couple of different pieces of this. I want you to just touch on each and tell us a little bit about where you went with this, after you made that sale, after you made that exit.
Sure. So first and foremost, I'm still an e-commerce business owner myself, and that's partly because A, I love it. B, I've learned how to build a brand into something sellable and then sell it. And C, I can't do the other things I'm doing. I can't, consult with people. I can't help them get the best possible exit if I don't have the same mindset as them of understanding what it is like to be an e-commerce seller. It's not good enough to say, oh, well, I was one. I need to be one now because it's such a fast-moving industry. So that's kind of, one thing. I'm still building brands. The second thing is, so when I sold, I went through this broker who were fine. They were one of the kind of generic style brokers who list your brand for sale on their website, like the eBay of businesses. But they didn't really do anything to get my business ready for sale. They went into my Amazon account and pulled some reports out of Shopify and said, well, this is the market average value of your business. There you go. But they didn't really do very much to help me get the business ready for sale, get ahead on the due diligence process, get the business properly positioned. I'm grateful that they found me the buyer. Nobody had heard of us, when they introduced me. But the work that I put in and the work that Allison, my co-founder in Ecom Brokers, put in, she was my accountant. And so she had the great position of being not only an e-commerce accountant, but she's got 20 years experience in mergers and acquisitions. So we put our heads together and said, well, hold on a second. We could do a better job of being a broker. We're in the UK. There's no one else doing this in the UK. And we can operate globally, being that interface across the pond, because people are selling e-commerce businesses to American buyers and vice versa, and within Europe. And B, we've got this really unique position. If I've been there and done it, I'm still doing it. Allison's the number cruncher on the financials, and she's got 20 years experience in mergers and acquisitions. We can offer so much more to the seller to get them ready to sell, whether they want to sell it 3 weeks or 3 months or 9 months or 2 years. We can work with them on their goals to get their business really properly neat and tidy and built to sell, get them ahead of the game on the due diligence, position the business properly, market it to the right buyer, that's important, to get them the best possible deal that their business is worth, which has a whole bunch of advantages over, the standard generic brokers and the going direct to a buyer. So yeah, that's what I'm doing on that. And then the third one that you mentioned, I'm consulting. So, there's a lot of gurus out there. And I like to think I'm a bit of an antidote to them, having been there and done it. And I help.
Exactly.
Huh?
No, I said, yeah, exactly. You definitely are.
There's too many gurus out there, I think.
There's too many gurus. You're right, guys. And so just with the benefit of my experience, I just work with people to kind of get control over their e-commerce business, work on their strategy, get them, out of the, it's so overwhelming at the moment because there's so much noise. Podcasts all over the place, videos all over the place, courses, Facebook ads, people in front of Lamborghinis. It's so overwhelming. And sometimes you just need somebody who's been there to just give you the benefit of their experience
100%.
and be calm about the whole situation and work with somebody one-on-one. And that's what I do.
Awesome.
I love it.
Let's touch on, before we end up, guys, let's touch on the Ecom Cooperative. We're all part of that. We're hosting this episode on the Ecom Cooperative channel at the moment. So let's just talk a little about that for 1 minute. And then Frank, get the outro song ready, please. But yes, the Ecom Cooperative is a community for e-commerce sellers to come learn, similar to this goal that Ben is trying to do of just somewhere to turn to for help, for resources. We recently conducted a 100K giveaway of services. All of us here raffled away some services and gave it away to a lucky winner. But there'll be more giveaways in the future. We're aiming to be a community where people can learn, grow, connect, and yes, it's amazing. You can learn more at theecomcooperative.com. You can learn more about the giveaway on the website as well, and how that went, and some information about future promotions and offers in the future. So, Frank, hit it with the music, man. Hit it with the music.
Let's get it.
Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. It's hard to yell when the barrel.
Thank you, Ben.
Ben, thank you so much for joining. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Take care. We out.
That was good.